Hi everyone, it's Daniela with Community Library. Today I'm going to show you how to make these adorable little heart sachets. To get started, the first thing we want to do is get our embroidery onto our white or our smaller heart. And I just did simple, it's just really just straight line stitches, okay? So I'm going to take three strands of my floss, thread my needle, and knot it. And the nice thing about this is anything you put, any knots or anything you put on here aren't going to show up because they're going to be covered up with the other hearts, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm just going to pick a spot and start here and bring my needle up. So now I have my knot in back and I have my thread coming up, and I'm just going to do a straight line stitch. And I'm doing probably about a 1/4 inch here. So, whatever you'd like, this is where you can really be creative. Okay, so I've got that stitch going out like that. So now I want another stitch coming straight out this way. So it makes a straight line, and it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Don't worry about perfection. So, and then I'll go right through that same hole there, pull through. So now I have the straight line, but there's a little gap in between. So now I'm going to come up through that center hole again, and I'm going to make another stitch going this way. And I'm trying to keep these, you can do any length you want, but what I'm trying to do within it is to keep it the same. And then in a second here, you're going to see how we can play around with that a little bit. Okay, so now what I want to do, just to make a little bit of a decoration, is I'm going to do straight lines coming out this way, but I'm going to make them a little bit longer, and so it's going to give it some character. So I'm going to come out a little bit farther, and it's the same technique, just in and out basically. So you can tell that one is a little bit longer than the others. I tell you, I really should have gotten a manicure before doing this. Okay, so now I'm going to come through these two, okay? So same thing. Now with these, I want to try and keep them about the same size as this. And this is all just eyeballing, but really, if you wanted to, what you could do, you could draw a little circle with disappearing ink, and those friction pens are really nice for that, because then you can iron over them and the ink disappears, but you have a little guide for yourself so that you know where you are, and so you don't go out too far. But like I said, I'm just going to eyeball, because for me that is good enough. I like it to look handmade. If I want something perfect, I'll go to Macy's and buy it. But for this kind of thing, I like it to look handmade. And you know what? Never point out if you made a mistake with something. When you show someone one of the things you made, they're going to look at it and say, "Oh, wow, you made that?" They're not going to see the mistakes. So don't point them out. It's okay. So now you've got the one. Now I can come over here, and I can just travel my thread over and come through here, and then start the same process again. So I just want to show you, after you make your hearts on the front, I'm going to turn it around here. You can see where I traveled my thread to get to the next spot. Now what I want to do is I want to knot my thread so that it doesn't come out. And like I said earlier, anything I do on this side isn't going to show, because I'm going to be putting this onto the red felt. So I'm going to come I'm going to come under here, and I'm going to go through a little bit of the felt with my needle. You don't want it to show on the other side, so you're not going all the way through that thickness, just a little bit. And then I'm not going to tighten my thread all the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle, run it through the loop, and I'm going to take my needle and run it through the loop again and tighten. And now I have a surgical knot, and this is not going to come apart on you. So then you can just snip your fabric, or excuse me, don't snip your fabric. You can snip your thread. And now we're going to go ahead and pin this onto the red heart so we can go ahead and stitch around. And I really do recommend pinning because this will have a tendency to shift on you. So you want to keep it in place so it looks pretty even. So now you can see I've pinned my white heart onto my red heart, and I have re-knotted my thread at the end. So now I can go ahead and start. And what I'm going to do is come up right through underneath on the red, because again, what we're going to do next is cover it with the pink, and you're never going to see it. So I'm just going to bring my needle up and let it catch the knot there. And now I'm going to move my thread over a little with my finger. And there are a couple of different techniques for doing the blanket stitch, which is what we're about to do. And you can look those up online, because there's one way where you go down through the thread, down through the fabric first and then up, and then there's another way where you go up first, and so it just depends on what works best for you. So this is the technique I'm going to show you. This is the one that works best for me, but certainly take a look out there because there are other ways of doing it. So I'm going to bring my needle up to the white here, and what I want to do is come out just under the white there on the red. And now I have made just a straight line right now. Okay, so I just have this little straight line there. What I'm going to do next is come up through the white, and I want to try to keep this line equal distance all the way around. So again, I'm going to, oops, come down here into the white, come up under the white, and come on, and just give it a good tug. Okay, so now in addition to trying to keep these equal distance from the edge, we also want to try and keep our stitches equal distance between each other. And the only place that's going to make it, where we're going to change that a little bit, is around the heart, because sometimes to go around a round corner, it's easier to bring your stitches a little closer together. So we'll take a look at that in a minute when we get there. But I'm just going to do a few more stitches like this so you can watch. And we have a book in the library by Lisa Bonjean. She owns the Primitive Gathering store in Menasha, and I'm certainly not putting in a plug for her, but she has a new book out, and I can't remember the title, so what I'll do is I'll put the title and her name in the email with a link to our catalog so you can put it on hold if you'd like to. But she goes through how to, well, first of all, how to prep your fabric and everything for doing wool. She does it on wool. This is just regular felt. But she shows you exactly how to do this technique, and she's a really good teacher. So there are also projects in the book which are kind of cool. So I'm not plugging her store, but I am plugging the book because obviously I work at the library. So I'm just going to continue going into the white, up under, and then you give it a tug. And I'll do one more here. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to keep going a little bit just so I can kind of show you around the corner here, the rounded part, so you can kind of see. So I'm starting to get to the rounded part. So I'm just going to start bringing my stitches a little closer to here. So in between, I won't have as much space. And what that does is it lets the thread lay flat. So it just looks a little bit neater. So I'll come a little bit closer again. And that's really the only difference. But still keep the same length for each of the lines. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch all the way around. And if you haven't quite gotten the blanket stitch, it's okay, because what we're going to do then is take our little sachet of lavender and put it in between and put these two together and then pin it again. And we're going to blanket stitch all the way around. Okay, so you can see I've blanket stitched all the way around my white heart. I have taken my little sachet, put it inside here, and just put in a couple pins to hold the red and the pink together. And now I'm going to go ahead and do another blanket stitch all the way around the red heart. And this time what I'm going to do, instead of going up through the bottom and ending up on the pink, I'm going to come up through just the red, because I don't want my knot to show up on the pink. So this way what we're doing essentially is burying our knot in between the layers, so you'll never see it. And the technique is the same. So I'm just going to, I came up through the red, I'm going to hold the floss over here with my thumb and go down into the red, come up, and just give it a little tug. And with that first stitch, sometimes you have to kind of manipulate it a little bit, and that's okay. So you can play with that and, you know, get it straight. So again, we're going to go down through the red all the way through the pink, bring it up. Let's do a couple more here. And remember, when we go around this curve, if we need to, we can make our stitches a little bit closer together, keeping the distance from the edge inside the same. So you want the same length thread. And that is really it. It's that simple. Now, if you have troubles when you're doing this at home, you know, feel free to give me a call at the library, email me. I will be happy to help any way I can. You know, it's going to be much easier when we're back to live programming again. I just want to show you quickly how to finish off. What I'm going to do is I'm right at the edge here, so I'm just going to come inside and I'm going to come through my red felt here a little bit. So again, it doesn't show on the other side. And I'm going to make my surgical knot again. So I'm going to go through my loop again, and tighten that. And then you won't be able to see your knot on the outside. And you should end up with something like this. So thank you so much for watching my low production video here. For those of you who have taken classes with me before, I really look forward to seeing you. For those of you, the new names that I've seen on the list, I can't wait to meet you. This is going to be so much more fun once we're in person and you can ask questions right there in the classroom and get one-on-one help. So thanks for watching. Give me a call if you need help, and we'll see you again in another program soon. Bye-bye.